The boy walked slowly across the ruins of the alien world. Dust filled the air, and broken towers stretched like skeletons against the dark sky. His small boots made soft sounds on the cracked ground. He carried nothing but a torn bag and a piece of bread wrapped in cloth. It was the last food he had. His stomach hurt from hunger, but he kept walking. For days he had seen no one, no humans, no soldiers, no friends. He was lost on a planet where humans were hated, a planet where one mistake could mean death. His face was pale, but his eyes were sharp. He had learned to survive. He knew how to hide from patrol ships, how to cover his tracks, and how to stay quiet in the night. But even the strongest boy cannot fight hunger forever. He stopped near a broken wall and unwrapped the bread. It was small, rough, and dry, but it smelled like home. He stared at it for a long moment. He wanted to eat it right there, quickly, before anyone saw. But then he heard something, soft sounds not far away. Voices. Crying. The boy froze. His heart started to beat faster. Slowly, he peeked over the wall. What he saw made him forget his hunger for a moment. A group of alien children sat near the ruins of an old temple. Their skin was pale blue, their eyes large and glowing in the shadows. They looked weak, thinner than they should be. Their small hands clutched their empty stomachs. Some cried softly, while others just stared at the ground with hollow eyes. Around them stood a few older aliens, warriors tall and strong, but even they looked tired and hopeless. The boy's first thought was to run. These were aliens, enemies of his people. If they saw him, they might kill him. Humans were not welcome here. He stepped back, holding the bread close. But then one of the alien children coughed, a deep and painful sound. Another whispered, "I am hungry. Please, I'm hungry." The boy felt his throat tighten. He knew that voice, not the words, but the pain behind them. He had spoken the same way many times when he was starving back on Earth. His eyes moved to the bread in his hand. It was all he had, his last chance to stay alive. Without it, he might not make it another day. But those children, they might not make it through the night. He took a deep breath. His hands shook. Part of him said, "Don't do it. They are not your people. They will betray you." Another part of him whispered, "They are children like you once were. You know their pain." Before he could change his mind, he stepped out from behind the wall. His small figure moved into the open ground. The alien warriors noticed him at once. They raised their weapons and shouted in their strange language. The children looked up, their glowing eyes wide with fear. The boy lifted his hand slowly, showing he carried no weapon. His heart pounded, but his voice was steady. He held up the bread and said, "You can have my bread." The words were simple, almost too small for the heavy silence that followed. For a moment, no one moved. The warriors stared at him, confused. The children blinked, not sure if they had heard him right. A human offering food to aliens? It was unthinkable. Then, through the crowd, a figure stepped forward. He was tall, stronger than the rest, with marks of age and battle across his face. His eyes burned with the weight of leadership. This was their chief. The boy's breath caught in his throat. This was worse than he had feared. The chief was a legend, a warrior who had fought humans in many battles. Stories said he had killed entire squads with his own hands. The chief walked slowly toward the boy, each step heavy and measured. The ground seemed to grow quiet around him. The warriors lowered their voices, waiting. The children stopped crying, their eyes following him. The boy tightened his grip on the bread. His knees felt weak, but he did not run. He had already made his choice. If this was his end, then it was his end. The chief stopped in front of him. His shadow fell across the boy, long and dark. His eyes went to the bread, then to the boy's face. For a long time, he said nothing. The silence was sharp, almost painful. The boy's heart hammered so loudly he thought everyone could hear it. Finally, the chief spoke in a deep voice. His words were slow, heavy with meaning. No one else understood them. But the boy felt the weight behind them. The chief reached out his hand, not to strike but to take the bread. The boy opened his fingers. The bread, small and fragile, passed from human hand to alien hand. A strange stillness filled the air. The warriors stared in shock. The children gasped. The chief studied the bread as if it were more than food, as if it carried something greater. Then his eyes lifted again to the boy, and he said in a voice that carried across the ruins, "This boy carries more strength than an army." The boy's breath caught. He did not understand what would happen next. But he knew one thing: the world had just changed. The bread sat in the chief's hand like a fragile treasure, For a moment, it seemed the whole ruined city had gone silent. The wind stopped, the children held their breath, and even the warriors lowered their weapons, waiting for their leader's reaction. The chief turned the bread slowly, studying its rough edges and dry surface. To most it was nothing, just food old and ordinary. But to the aliens it was not ordinary at all. Bread was not part of their world anymore. Their own crops had died long ago, poisoned by war and machines. For years their people had eaten only bitter roots and strange powders. Real bread, soft and warm, existed only in old songs and fading memories. And now here it was, offered not by one of their own, but by a human boy. The warriors shifted uneasily. One of them whispered, "It is a trick, Chief. Humans never give without reason. Kill him before he poisons us," another growled. "He mocks us. Look at him, so small, so weak. He thinks we are beggars." But the chief raised his hand, silencing them. His eyes never left the boy. The boy stood straight even though his legs trembled. He had no weapon, no shield, nothing to protect himself. Yet he did not step back. His face was pale from hunger, but his gaze was steady. He looked at the chief as if saying, "I am not your enemy. I am only a boy with bread." The chief's heart, hardened by battles and years of loss, felt something strange. A crack, small but real. He remembered his own son, long dead, who once begged for food during the war. He remembered the helplessness of not being able to save him. The memory struck like a blade. Slowly, the chief bent his knees and lowered himself until he was at the boy's height. The warriors gasped. Their leader had never bowed to anyone, not even to kings. The children stared wide-eyed, too stunned to cry. The chief's hand closed gently around the bread. His voice was deep, carrying weight like thunder. "You offer your last food to strangers," he said. "Why?" The boy swallowed hard. His lips were dry, his throat tight, but he answered softly, "Because I know hunger. I know how it feels when your stomach burns and your body shakes. I don't want others to feel it." Simple words, but they struck the tribe like arrows. The children leaned closer. Even the warriors, trained to hate humans, felt something stir. The chief studied him for a long time. His face showed no clear emotion, but his eyes held a storm of thoughts. At last he stood tall again, lifting the bread high above his head. "This boy," the chief declared, "carries more strength than an army." The words rolled through the ruins like a wave. Some warriors frowned, confused. Others exchanged uncertain looks. But the children smiled faintly, their eyes shining with hope. One warrior stepped forward, anger flashing in his voice. "Chief, he is human. Our enemy. You cannot honor him. He brings weakness." The chief's gaze turned sharp like a blade drawn from its sheath. "Weakness?" he said slowly. "It is not weakness to give when you have nothing. It is not weakness to share bread with the hungry. That is strength greater than any weapon." The warrior bowed his head, silenced. The chief then tore the bread into pieces, careful and slow, as though performing an ancient ritual. He handed the first piece to the boy. The second he gave to a crying child. One by one he shared the bread among the children until only crumbs remained. The children ate as if it were a feast. They smiled, their faces glowing with joy, though the bread was small and dry. For them it was more than food. It was hope. The boy watched, his chest tight with emotion. He felt lighter even though his stomach still ached with hunger. He had given away his last food, yet he did not regret it. But not everyone shared the joy. In the shadows, several warriors whispered again, "This is dangerous. The chief forgets what humans have done. One boy cannot change centuries of blood," another muttered, "Hope is poison. It makes people weak. Soon they will follow the boy instead of the chief." The chief heard their whispers, though he said nothing. His eyes lingered on the boy. Deep inside, he knew this child was no ordinary wanderer. This boy had crossed the line that war had drawn between their species. And once a line is crossed, it can never be the same again. As the last crumbs of bread vanished, the chief placed a heavy hand on the boy's shoulder. His voice was low, meant only for him. "You have given us more than food. You have given us memory. Bread is life. When we share it, we are bound. Do you understand?" The boy nodded slowly, though he did not fully grasp the meaning. He only knew the chief's touch was not cruel but steady, like a father guiding a son. Then the chief turned to his tribe and spoke louder. "From this day the human boy is under my protection. He is no enemy. He is guest." The words sent ripples through the crowd. Some cheered softly, some frowned, and some looked afraid. A guest, a human boy among them? Such a thing had never happened. The boy felt the weight of many eyes upon him. He did not know if they accepted him or hated him. But he knew one thing. His life had changed forever in this moment. Far away, a dark sound echoed, the distant roar of war machines moving closer. The boy looked toward the horizon, his chest heavy. This fragile peace might not last, but for now in this ruined place a human and an alien chief had shared bread. And that single act had begun something no one could stop. The night was quiet, but the boy could not sleep. He sat near the dim fire the aliens had built, watching sparks rise into the black sky. Around him, the alien children slept close together, their small bodies weak but peaceful for the first time in days. The warriors kept guard, their glowing eyes scanning the ruins. The chief sat across from the boy, silent and still. His tall frame cast a long shadow against the firelight. The boy felt the weight of his gaze, like the eyes of someone carrying both grief and power. Finally the chief spoke, his voice low and steady. "You do not know what you have done," he said. The boy blinked. "I only gave bread." The chief shook his head. "Not only bread, you have awakened an old law among my people. When one shares food in times of hunger, it binds lives together. It is called the bond of survival. Now our fates are tied. You are one of us, whether you wish it or not." The boy frowned. "But I'm human. And you are—" He looked around at the tribe, their strange glowing eyes and pale blue skin. "Different. Different," the chief repeated almost bitterly. "Yes, but hunger makes all beings the same. When we eat the same food, we share memory. It is written in our oldest songs. Once, long before war, our people shared food with other races. But after the great poison, the bonds broke. Now only bitterness remains." The boy leaned forward. "What poison?" The chief's face hardened, his voice heavy with sorrow. "The war between humans and us burned our lands. The machines poisoned our soil. Rivers turned black. Nothing grows. Our children are born weak. The roots we eat keep us alive, but they carry sickness. We survive, but we do not live. Every season more of us die." The boy's eyes widened. He thought of the bread he had carried, simple and plain, something he had almost taken for granted. To him it was food. To them it was life. The chief held up the last crumb he had saved from earlier. He studied it with reverence. "This bread is not poisoned. It carries the memory of Earth. It carries purity." The boy tilted his head. "Bread does not have memory." The chief's eyes burned like embers. "You are young, human, and you do not yet understand. Our people believe that food remembers the soil it comes from, the sky it grew under, and the hands that shaped it. When we eat it, we take those memories into ourselves. That is why your bread matters. It carries the memory of your world. For us, it is a reminder that life can still be clean." The boy sat in silence, his heart heavy. He had not known. He thought he was only giving away his last meal. But now he realized he had given something greater: hope. The fire crackled. A warrior approached and bowed to the chief. "The scouts return. The enemy clan moves closer. They have heard rumors of the human boy." The chief's jaw tightened. His voice dropped into a growl. "They fear what hope can do." The boy's stomach turned cold. "They want to kill me?" The warrior glanced at him with narrowed eyes. "They believe your bread carries poison. Or worse, that it carries power. Some say you came to control us." The boy shook his head quickly. "No, I didn't. The chief raised his hand, silencing him. "I know, but fear does not listen to truth. Fear only sees shadows, and now you are the shadow they wish to destroy." The boy's hands clenched. He wanted to say he was just a child, that he had no army, no plan. But deep inside, he knew it would not matter. To the enemy clan, he was a threat simply because he had given away bread. The chief leaned closer. "Do you regret it? Giving your food?" The boy met his gaze. His voice trembled, but his answer was clear. "No, I would do it again." For the first time, the chief's lips curved into the faintest smile. "Then you are braver than most warriors I have known." The boy's chest warmed at the words, but fear still gnawed at him. He asked softly, "What will happen if they attack?" The chief's eyes darkened. "Then you will see the truth of this bond. Some will fight to protect you, for you are now part of us. But others will see you as danger, and the battle will decide what you truly mean to this tribe." The boy's heart pounded. He had never wanted to be part of a battle. He only wanted to survive. But now he was caught in something larger, something older than himself. The fire burned lower, its light flickering across the chief's scarred face. The night grew colder. The boy pulled his torn bag closer, wishing he had more to give. In the silence, the chief spoke again, his tone heavy but calm. "Remember this, human boy. Bread is never just bread. To those who starve, it is a promise. To those who lead, it is a test. You gave more than food, you gave yourself, and now we will see what the galaxy does with that gift." The boy lay down beside the fire, unable to close his eyes. The chief's words echoed in his mind. A promise, a test. He did not know what kind of future awaited him, but he felt the weight of it pressing down on his small shoulders. Above them, the sky was filled with distant stars. Somewhere beyond those stars was Earth, his home, far away and unreachable. Yet here on this broken alien world, his single piece of bread had begun a story greater than he could have imagined. And though he did not know it yet, the galaxy was already listening. The morning sun rose weakly over the ruined city, spilling pale light across the broken stones. The boy rubbed his eyes, his body heavy with exhaustion. He had not truly slept all night. Whispers had moved around the camp like restless ghosts. He knew the words were about him. The alien children greeted him shyly, some even smiling. To them, he was no longer a stranger. He was the boy who had shared his last bread. But among the warriors, things were different. Their glowing eyes followed him wherever he went. Some looked curious, others wary, and some looked like they hated him. The boy tried to ignore the stares. He sat near the fire, clutching his knees. His stomach still hurt from hunger, but his heart was heavier than his belly. He could feel the distance between himself and the warriors. It didn't take long for the storm to break. One warrior, taller than the rest, stepped forward. His skin carried the deep scars of battle, and his voice was sharp as a blade. He pointed at the boy. "Chief, this is wrong. The human cannot stay." The camp grew silent. All eyes turned to the chief, who stood nearby, calm but watchful. The warrior continued, anger rising in his tone. "We are dying. Our children are weak. And now this boy appears with strange bread? How do we know it is not poison? How do we know he is not a spy?" The boy's chest tightened. He opened his mouth to protest, but the warrior's glare froze him. Another warrior joined in. "He gave us his food because he wants our trust. Humans always trick before they strike. We should kill him now before he kills us." The words struck the boy like stones. His hands trembled. He wanted to scream, "I am not your enemy," but fear held his tongue. The chief raised his hand. "Enough." His deep voice silenced the camp. "This boy has shown us courage. He gave when he had nothing. He did not strike, he did not lie. That is more than many of you have done." But the first warrior would not bow. He stepped closer, his eyes burning. "You are blinded, Chief. You see hope in him, but hope is a weakness. Humans destroyed our land. Now you honor one of them? What will our enemies say when they learn our leader bows to a human child?" The chief's jaw tightened. His hand moved to the hilt of his blade, though he did not draw it. "I honor no human. I honor courage. And I will not kill a child who showed more heart than seasoned warriors." The camp erupted in whispers, voices clashing like swords. Some sided with the chief, others with the angry warriors. The tribe was splitting, and the boy felt caught in the middle. The alien children huddled near him, their small hands clutching his torn sleeve as if he could protect them. He felt their trust fragile but real. It gave him strength. Finally, the boy stood up. His legs shook, but he forced himself to meet the warrior's sharp eyes. "I am not your spy," he said. His voice was small but steady. "I gave my bread because I know hunger. If I wanted to poison you, I would have stayed hidden. I would have let your children starve. But I couldn't. Because I remember when I was hungry and no one came to help me." The words hung in the air. For a moment, no one spoke. The warriors looked at one another, uncertain, but the scarred warrior sneered. "Words are cheap. Anyone can say them." He raised his weapon, pointing it at the boy's chest. "Let us see if your courage still holds when death stares you in the eyes." The boy froze. His heart pounded so hard it hurt. But he did not run. He stood tall, his fists clenched at his sides. Before the weapon could strike, the chief moved. His blade flashed, knocking the warrior's weapon aside with a ringing clash. Sparks flew as metal hit stone. The chief's voice thundered through the ruins. "Enough! If anyone here raises a hand against the boy, they raise it against me, and I will cut it down." The camp went silent. Even the wind seemed to stop. The scarred warrior stepped back, his jaw tight with rage, but he did not challenge the chief again. The boy let out a shaky breath. His knees threatened to give way, but he stayed standing. The chief's protection was the only shield he had, and it had just saved his life. Still, the danger was not gone. The whispers did not stop. If anything, they grew louder, darker. Some warriors would obey the chief, but others would not forget their anger. That night, as the boy lay near the fire again, he felt eyes on him. Shadows moved in the corners of the camp. He realized the truth. Kindness had not saved him. It had put him in even greater danger. The bread he had given was not only food, it was a spark, and sparks could start fires. As he closed his tired eyes, one thought echoed in his mind. I am part of their tribe now. But some of them would rather see me dead. And somewhere in the distance, the enemy clan's war horns blew, carried by the cold night wind. The boy shivered. Suspicion was already tearing this tribe apart, and soon betrayal might follow. The camp was restless. Whispers of fear and anger curled through the air like smoke. Some warriors sharpened their weapons, their eyes flashing at the boy. Others turned away, unwilling to meet his gaze. The children, however, stayed close to him, as if his presence gave them comfort. The boy sat near the fire, his arms wrapped around his knees. He felt their stares like knives pressing into his skin. He was still hungry, weaker than ever, but inside something stronger was burning. He could no longer stay silent. When the chief called the tribe together that evening, the boy stood with the children by his side. The firelight flickered across broken stone walls, throwing shadows across the alien faces. The chief's voice was steady as he addressed his people. Our world grows colder. Our food grows bitter. And now we stand divided. His eyes swept across the warriors. Some see the boy as a curse. I see him as a chance. The scarred warrior who had challenged him earlier stepped forward. His voice was sharp. Chance, he is a human. Our enemy. He gave bread to gain our trust. That is all, and we are fools if we believe otherwise. The crowd murmured in agreement. Fear pressed heavier than the air. The boy's heart pounded. He felt the children's small hands clutch his sleeve. He could not let the chief stand alone. He took a breath and stepped forward. His voice trembled at first, but grew stronger with each word. You think I want to trick you? He said, his eyes sweeping the crowd. I had only one piece of bread. My last food. If I wanted to live only for myself, I would have eaten it. But I gave it away. Not because I wanted power. Not because I wanted to trick you. But because I know what it means to starve. The tribe grew quiet. The boy swallowed and continued, his voice breaking with memory. Back on Earth, I was hungry too. After the wars, food was gone. I remember nights when I cried, holding my stomach, hoping someone would come. But no one came, not once. I learned that hunger is the cruelest enemy. It makes you weak, it makes you afraid, it makes you less than alive. He looked at the children beside him, their glowing eyes wide and wet. When I saw your children crying, I remembered myself. I could not stay hidden. I could not let them feel what I felt. That is why I gave my bread. His words hung in the air like heavy stones. The warriors stared at him, surprised by his honesty. Some looked uncertain. Some frowned. But others softened, their anger dimming. The chief's face remained unreadable, but his eyes glowed faintly, like fire under ash. The boy's voice grew steadier. If you keep waiting for leaders to end the war, children will keep dying. If you keep waiting for mercy from those who rule, you will wait forever. The only way to live is to help each other, even when it costs you something. For a moment, silence ruled the camp. The crackle of fire was the only sound. Then, one of the smallest alien children tugged on the chief's cloak and said softly, He gave us bread. He gave us hope. The chief placed a hand on the child's head, then turned back to his warriors. You hear the words of a human boy. He has no army, no power, yet he gave what none of us would have given. Tell me, which of you would hand your last food to a stranger? No one answered. The silence was louder than words. The scarred warrior growled but did not step forward this time. His jaw tightened as he looked away. The chief lifted his voice so all could hear. Courage is not born in strength of arm or sharpness of blade. Courage is born in sacrifice. And tonight this boy has shown more spirit than many who call themselves warriors. The children clapped their hands, their voices rising in small cheers. Even some of the weary warriors lowered their heads, ashamed of their doubt. Hope flickered among them, faint but real. The boy felt warmth in his chest. For the first time since arriving, he did not feel like an outsider. The children smiled at him, and even a few warriors nodded in respect. But hope was a dangerous thing. In the shadows, the scarred warrior leaned close to another, whispering, "If the chief continues this path, he will lose control. The boy is a fire, and fire must be put out." The chief, though standing tall, heard the whispers. He knew the tribe was not fully united. But he also knew something had shifted. The human boy's words had touched them. Later, when the fire burned low and most had fallen asleep, the chief approached the boy. He looked down at him with eyes that carried both pride and warning. "You spoke with truth tonight," he said. "You lit a flame in their hearts. But remember, flames draw enemies. The other clans will not let this stand. They fear hope more than they fear hunger." The boy looked up, tired but resolute. "Then let them fear." The chief studied him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "Perhaps your spirit is greater than you know." Far away beyond the ruins, a distant light glowed in the night sky. Enemy fires. Enemy drums. The rival clan was moving closer, and the boy understood. His words had given hope to some, but also painted a target on his back. The true test of his spirit had not even begun. The night sky glowed red on the horizon. Drums echoed across the ruins, deep and heavy, carrying a message of war. The rival clan was coming. The boy sat near the fire, his heart racing. He had never heard sounds like these before. Shouts in a strange alien tongue, the pounding rhythm of weapons against shields, the roar of war horns that seemed to shake the ground. The alien children clung to him, their eyes wide with fear. The chief stood tall, his blade glinting in the firelight. Around him his warriors gathered, some fierce, some trembling. The tribe was weak from hunger, but desperation gave them strength. One scout returned, his chest heaving. "They come with fire and steel. They march to destroy us. They demand the boy." The boy's stomach dropped. He already knew. The rival clan had heard of him, of the human child who gave bread, who brought hope. To them, hope was dangerous. To them, he was not a boy. He was a threat. The chief's voice rumbled like thunder. "They will not have him." But whispers stirred among the warriors. Some muttered, "If we give them the boy, they will leave us." Others said, "Better one child dies than the whole tribe." The boy heard every word. His chest tightened. He could not bear the thought of the tribe dying because of him. Slowly he stood. His small frame trembled, but his voice was clear. "I will go to them." The children gasped and grabbed his hands, shaking their heads. "No, they will kill you." The warriors sneered. Some nodded in approval. But the chief's eyes burned with fury. He stepped forward, towering over the boy. "You are under my protection. Do not speak of sacrifice." The boy looked up at him, his voice breaking but strong. "If they only want me, then let me go. I don't want anyone else to die for my bread." The chief's face hardened, torn between anger and respect. He saw something in the boy, something rare. Not weakness, but resolve. The drums grew louder. Flames lit the distance as the rival clan marched closer. Their war cries tore through the night. The boy took a step forward toward the sound of the enemy, but the chief blocked his path. "You are brave," the chief said, his voice low, "but bravery without wisdom is death. Listen to me. The enemy does not only want your life. They want your story. They want to crush the hope you have given us. If you walk into their hands, you give them victory." The boy froze. He understood now. His life was not only his own anymore. His small act had become something larger. Suddenly, the rival clan appeared, pouring through the ruins like a tide of fire. Their warriors were stronger, their weapons sharper. They carried banners of blood-red cloth and torches that burned like suns. Their leader, a tall alien with armor of bone, stepped forward and raised his weapon high. "Give us the boy," he roared, "or we will burn you all to ash." Fear shook the tribe. Some stepped back. Some even looked at the boy with pleading eyes, silently begging him to surrender. The boy's chest pounded. He wanted to run, to hide, but then he saw the alien children standing behind him. They were thin, fragile, but they looked at him with trust, with hope. And he remembered his own hunger, his own tears. He clenched his fists and stepped forward, his voice breaking but loud enough to carry. "I will not hide. If you want me, take me." The rival clan laughed, cruel and sharp. Their leader sneered. "You are just a child. You think you can change war with crumbs of bread?" But before he could strike, the alien children rushed in front of the boy, their small bodies forming a shield. They raised their voices together, crying out in their language. Their words were simple but fierce. "He is ours. He gave us life." The rival warriors hesitated. For the first time they saw something strange. Children defending a human. The chief seized the moment. He raised his blade and shouted, "This boy is not our enemy. He is our brother. Strike him and you strike us all!" The tribe roared with him, their fear turning into fire. Even the weakest warrior lifted his weapon ready to stand. The rival leader's sneer faltered. He had expected fear, surrender. Instead he saw unity. He saw warriors and children, alien and human, standing together. The boy's heart raced. He had no weapon, no armor. But he stood taller than ever, his voice steady. "You can kill me," he said, "but you cannot kill what I gave. Bread is gone, but hope remains, and hope is stronger than your fire." The rival clan shifted uneasily. Their leader growled, furious, but the hesitation in his warriors was clear. The boy's words had reached even them. The night shook with the sound of two tribes facing each other, blades raised, fire burning. But the battle did not begin with weapons, it began with a choice. The chief raised his blade high, his voice echoing through the ruins. "Test us if you dare." And the boy, standing at his side, whispered to himself, "This is the test of fire. Not just theirs, but mine." The ruins trembled with the clash of voices. Two tribes stood face to face, weapons ready, firelight dancing across scarred stone. The rival clan leader raised his blade high, his eyes locked on the boy. For a heartbeat, it seemed war would erupt in that instant. But the boy did not step back. His body shook, yet his feet stayed planted. The alien children clung to him, their small voices echoing. "He is ours. He gave us life." The rival warriors hesitated. Their torches burned, their blades gleamed, but doubt crept into their eyes. A child had no army, no power. Yet here he stood, guarded by alien children and protected by a chief who once swore to kill all humans. The rival leader growled, furious at their hesitation. "Do you not see? He is human. Their kind destroyed our land, poisoned our rivers, starved our families. And now you would protect one of them?" The boy's heart pounded, but he raised his voice stronger than he thought possible. "Yes, I am human. But I did not poison your rivers. I did not burn your homes. I am only a boy, and still I gave my last food so others would not starve." He held his empty hands high. "If that is my crime, then I am guilty. If kindness is my weapon, then strike me now." The ruins grew silent. Even the drums stopped. His words cut through the anger like lightning. The rival warriors shifted uneasily, glancing at one another. Some lowered their weapons. The chief stepped forward, towering beside the boy. His voice carried like thunder. "You call him weak. Yet he gave when he had nothing. Tell me, rival clan, would any of you give your last food to your enemy's child?" Silence. Not a single warrior spoke. The chief lifted the boy's hand high, his deep voice echoing through the ruins. "This human has done what our leaders could not. He has broken the chain of hate. I call him brother." The tribe roared with his words. Children cheered, warriors shouted, and hope lit their eyes brighter than fire. The rival clan leader's face twisted with rage. "You dishonor us all," he shouted. "You kneel to a child? To a human?" He lifted his blade, ready to strike. But before he could move, something unexpected happened. A warrior from his own side stepped forward. His voice was quiet but firm. "Chief, perhaps the boy is right. We have fought for years, and still our children starve. What has hate given us but more graves?" Another warrior dropped his weapon. Then another. The rival clan murmured, torn between loyalty and doubt. The leader's eyes blazed, but his warriors no longer matched his fury. The boy stepped closer, his voice soft but carrying in the silence. "I am not asking you to love me. I am asking you to remember your children. Hunger does not care about enemies or tribes. Hunger only takes. But if we share, if we help each other, maybe the children will live." The rival leader's hand shook as he gripped his blade. He looked around and saw his own soldiers lowering their weapons, refusing to march into another meaningless slaughter. Fury burned in his eyes. But he knew the battle was lost, not with swords, but with a single piece of bread. With a roar of frustration, he hurled his torch to the ground. "This war is not over," he spat, retreating into the shadows. "But you will regret this human boy." One by one, his warriors followed, their banners of blood-red cloth vanishing into the darkness. The ruins fell into silence again. The flames flickered low, leaving behind smoke and ash. The boy stood frozen, his chest heaving. He could hardly believe it. He had expected death. Instead, he had watched an army turn away, not because of his strength, not because of weapons, but because of bread. The chief lowered the boy's hand gently, his eyes burning with pride. You faced them with no blade, no shield, and still you turned them away. Today you have done what no army has done. The children rushed to him, their arms wrapping around his waist. They laughed, they cried, their voices bright with relief. For the first time, the ruins rang with joy instead of sorrow. The boy felt tears sting his own eyes. He had lost everything, his home, his family, his world. But here, in this broken place, he had found something new. Belonging. The chief raised his voice one final time, speaking to his people. Remember this night. Remember the boy who gave bread when he had nothing. From this day, he is not human. He is one of us. The warriors pounded their weapons against the stone in agreement, their voices rising in unison. Brother! Brother! The boy's heart swelled. For the first time in his life, he felt like more than just a survivor. He was part of something greater. Above, the stars shone brightly, scattered across the dark sky. Somewhere far away, the galaxy carried on with its wars and politics. But here, in these ruins, a new story had begun. One that would spread from mouth to mouth, across tribes, across worlds. They would tell the tale of a boy who gave away his last bread. A boy who faced armies with empty hands. A boy who turned enemies into brothers. The boy closed his eyes and whispered to himself, I am not alone anymore. And the galaxy would never forget the night a human child stunned everyone with nothing but a piece of bread and a spirit stronger than war.